Hello guys, today we're going to take a look at a cult game that celebrates its 10th anniversary this year. Can we still enjoy it in 2023 as much as we did in 2013? We'll find out at the end of the video. The game transports us to Ludendorff, North Yankton, 9 years ago. A group of eccentric individuals is robbing a bank. The man in the plaid shirt is Michael, one of the 3 playable characters. While these guys were looting the money, a security guard catches Michael, pulls off his mask, and says he will remember his face. In response, Michael says, "Every day, you forget thousands of little things. Let this be one of them." Remember that phrase. As the second playable character, I deal with the guard, and our guys make their way outside. Just then, the police arrive, so we have to fight our way to the getaway. The shootout turns into a chase, but we manage to get rid of the police for a while. Our guys crash the car and decide to continue on foot. Suddenly, one of them gets shot, and Michael takes a bullet as well. He asks his surviving comrade to leave them and run, which he does. We then witness Michael's funeral, but we later find out that he staged his death and went into hiding. The reason for this remains unclear for now, but we'll find out later. Rockstar Games presents Grand Theft Auto 5. Currently, Michael is sitting in a session with a psychotherapist and talking about his family problems. From his narrative, we understand that things are not going very well for Michael, as he describes it as
fucking here. Dream is fucking game. Fuck.
The therapy session ends, and Michael steps out onto the street to clear his mind and relax on a bench. At that time, we are introduced to the second playable character. Meet Franklin and his friend Lamar. They are currently trying to steal 2 cars to deliver to their boss at their car dealership. The guy is not very pleasant, and you can even tell that by his appearance. Even now, he's trying to deceive a teenager into buying a car. By the way, this young guy happens to be Michael's son. Making it clear that he's not interested in these shady dealings, Franklin heads home. Upon arrival, Lamar starts annoying Franklin with his silly talks, and even Franklin's aunt, with whom he lives, isn't too happy to see him. Realizing I'm not welcome here, I set out to the dealership to earn some money. Now, we've been given a task to steal a motorcycle that is located in Vago's gang territory. While we were searching the garages, the Vago's gang members, not pleased with our behavior, approached us. After dealing with them, Lamar and I embark on a chase after the guy who has the motorbike we need. Having peacefully negotiated with its owner, Franklin takes the bike. The next day, our smartass boss asks Franklin to steal a car he recently sold to Michael's son. We have no choice, so we climb into the yard, knock out the gardener, and I also decided to take a swim in Michael's pool. Well, you can see how hot it is outside, and Franklin is not dressed appropriately for the weather, so don't judge me. So, I managed to get through the window into Michael's house, stealthily made my way into his garage, and stole a car. On the way to the dealership, it turns out that Michael was in the car all this time, and he didn't really appreciate us stealing his vehicle. He pointed a gun at us and began threatening that if we didn't crash into the showroom window, he would kill us. Well, I guess I'll have to do it. In exchange for compliance, we received some money, and Michael himself punched our boss in the face. As expected, we were eventually fired. The next day, while Michael was relaxing by the pool, Franklin came to see him.
Hello, motherfucker.
After yesterday's encounter, he realized that Michael is a cool guy who knows how to make money. But Michael says that he has retired and is no longer involved in criminal activities. He advises Franklin to get an education and work like an ordinary person. At that moment, Michael receives a call from his son Jimmy, who says that he has been kidnapped by the people he tried to sell Michael's yacht to. Michael, of course, was furious about the news, but there was nothing to be done. He would have to rescue his foolish son. He takes Franklin with him, and together they confront the kidnappers. We managed to catch Michael's son, but unfortunately, we couldn't retrieve the yacht as the car broke down during the chase. Realizing that he can trust Franklin, given his help in rescuing Jimmy, Michael asks him to take the car for repairs and departs for home in a taxi. Later that same night, when Franklin decides to visit Michael, he comes across an unpleasant scene. It turns out that our friend's wife, instead of playing tennis, was pleasuring someone's penis during her private lessons. Naturally, Michael didn't appreciate it, so he set off in pursuit of the trainer who was giving improper lessons to Michael's beloved wife. This tennis player had arrived at a fancy house, and thinking it belonged to that jerk, Michael used a car and a rope to demolish the foundation of the house. It soon became clear that the house belonged to a very influential person, and after receiving a warning blow, Michael found himself in a situation where he needed to quickly find a large sum of money. Since he doesn't know how to make big money through honest means, he decides to find his old criminal partner and pull off a robbery. Meanwhile, Michael reminisces about having children whom he hasn't spent time with for a long while. Unfortunately, his son doesn't share Michael's ideas of doing something other than smoking weed and playing video games, so Michael smashes the TV and drags his son out for a walk. Upon reaching the beach, they make a bet: whoever reaches the pier faster on a bike buys a new TV to replace the broken one. Am I a sucker or what to let the kid win? After losing the bet, our son tells me to fuck off and suggests Michael better keep an eye on his sister, who is currently having fun with unreliable adults on a nearby yacht. Got it, I'm on my way. Taking his stubborn daughter, Michael hops onto a jet ski and attempts to leave. They are pursued, but I quickly shake off those fools. As you can see, the kids aren't particularly fond of their father, despite Michael's attempts to mend the relationship and show his love and care. His children are growing more distant from him. First, because they're idiots, and second, because Michael doesn't know how to express his feelings correctly. So, it's turning into a family drama. Deciding that we could have a good time without the kids, I went out with Michael for some fun. We rode roller coasters after making sure Michael met the height requirement. We even participated in a marathon with a stranger. We enjoyed breathtaking views, capturing a few nice photos and selfies as keepsakes. Michael later came to his friend's home and sought Lester's help in pulling off a daring plan. He agreed to assist, but requested something in return. He aimed to play a prank on a local figure, kinda Steve Jobs, who had plans to unveil a new phone soon. Disguised as an employee, Michael sneaked into the office, placed a bomb on the phone, and activated it during the actual presentation. Easy peasy. After changing into more presentable attire, Michael headed to Lester's office. There, they decided that robbing the local jewelry store would be a lucrative opportunity. To achieve this, they needed to gather information, locate security cameras, assess the level of security, and more. Lester presented two options for executing the heist: a violent approach involving eliminating everyone or using sleeping gas to quietly take the valuables while everyone slept. I opted for the second option and recruited suitable accomplices for the job. A skilled driver to ensure a smooth getaway. A poor shooter, as I have no intention of killing anyone. And a talented hacker who will buy me time until the police arrive. Overall, these heists are really well made in GTA 5. Although I don't particularly enjoy the preparatory missions, which mostly involve stealing the necessary vehicles for the heists, the actual robberies themselves are quite interesting. That's why in my retelling, I'll focus more on the heists rather than the preparatory missions. After acquiring the required vehicles, our team headed to the jewelry store. Franklin threw a gas bomb into the ventilation system, causing everyone to quickly pass out. The hacker disabled the alarm system, and we got to work. As we were leaving the jewelry store, Michael noticed a local policeman approaching Franklin. Deciding not to kill him but to intimidate him a bit, Michael uttered a phrase that would later change his life.
You forget 1,000 things every day, pal. Make sure this is one of them.
Before leaving, I briefly contemplated killing all the witnesses, but unfortunately, the game didn't allow me to do that. A high-speed chase ensued, with us initially attempting to escape on motorcycles. Additionally, I rammed the pursuing cops with a truck, and this thrilling escape was accompanied by spectacular acrobatic tricks. The guys managed to escape, and they decided to lay low for a while. Sometime later, when Franklin came to Michael to celebrate their successful heist, a news report on recent events started playing on TV. Our familiar police officer was giving an interview and quoting that very phrase uttered by Michael. Suddenly, we were transported to a filthy house where a man was engaging in indecent activities. His name is Trevor, and he was one of the guys Michael had robbed a bank with 9 years ago. Upon hearing that phrase, he went mad and in his rage even killed someone. Anyway, Trevor realized that Michael was alive, so he ordered his subordinate to find out where his old comrade was currently located. Meanwhile, we found ourselves getting involved in clashes with rival gangs affiliated with Trevor, who were involved in illegal substance trafficking. I dealt with one group's leader, burned down the hideout of another group of gangsters, and even met some strange Chinese guys who wanted to make a deal with me. But since they were behaving too strangely, even by Trevor's standards, he decided to end the negotiations. While we were occupied with all this nonsense, our contact discovered Michael's whereabouts, so now we're heading to the city. Along the way, Trevor shares his story. He used to be a pilot, but they deemed him too unstable for the job and dismissed him. That's when he met Michael, who helped him earn money, and they became not only partners in crime but also friends. Trevor was deeply affected by Michael's supposed death, and he is now furious about being deceived. Eventually, we stopped by our friend's cousin named Floyd. Floyd wasn't thrilled about it, but Trevor didn't care and went to sleep. The next morning, Trevor went to see Michael. The whole family was shocked, and while Trevor was greeting everyone, they realized that Tracy was missing from this gathering. Jimmy explained that his sister was currently auditioning for the show Shame or Fame, where participants showcase their talents. Tracy decided to demonstrate her dancing skills, even though she objectively can't dance. So, Michael and Trevor decided to go after her to save everyone from the impending cringe-induced death. The guys arrived at the filming location, but there was a crazy scene happening there. Tracy was twerking, while some guy was groping her. The guys didn't like this spectacle and, in their own style, tried to stop it. The host, to avoid getting hit, started running away. Trevor and Michael chased after him. When they caught up with him, they made him undress and dance on camera. After bullying him enough, they let him go. Afterward, Michael meets up with a friend from the FBI. They have known each other since Michael sought his help 9 years ago. Michael wanted to leave the criminal life behind and retire. However, since Trevor wouldn't let him do that, he decided to stage his own death and enter the witness protection program. He revealed all the details of the robbery to the police and gave them a chance to catch their gang. As a result, the agent got a promotion for solving the case, and Michael was given a new identity and allowed to live in peace. During this catch, Trevor was supposed to be killed, but instead of Trevor, their other comrade died, and things didn't go as planned. Everything was fine until Michael recently robbed a jewelry store, making it difficult to cover up. Moreover, Trevor's unexpected reappearance complicates the situation. Now Michael has to work for this agent named Dave. The first task for Michael is to break into the morgue and find a person who has information about him and other illegal activities conducted by Dave. Michael was knocked out and brought to the morgue as a corpse. He regains consciousness there and searches for the person he needs but doesn't find him, which leads to a more serious turn of events. On the way back home, Dave calls us and says the situation is at a deadlock, and now Michael has to cooperate with the police, otherwise, he will end badly. After this, Michael decides to contact Franklin and warn him that federals are watching him and advises his friend to leave Los Santos while he still can. However, Franklin says he won't abandon Michael and will help him figure everything out. A true friend indeed. At home, yet another drama unfolds. Amanda, Michael's wife, incessantly nags him upon Trevor's return, considering him a complete psycho. Suddenly, her yoga instructor shows up and suggests a joint practice session to help ease tensions. Initially, things seem promising, but the instructor crosses the line by inappropriately touching Amanda, which naturally pisses Michael off. He attempts to punch the yoga master but ends up falling into the pool instead. Witnessing this, Amanda declares her frustration with Michael's actions and expresses her desire to leave. After this unpleasant situation, we decide to spend some time with Jimmy and meet his acquaintances. However, our guy doesn't really have friends, so he drags his father to meet a drug dealer. Acquiring the drugs, Jimmy convinces Michael to try them. After bugging him for a while, they finally agree, but on the way back home, Michael starts tripping out with hallucinations. Taking advantage of the situation, Jimmy throws his father out of the car onto the road and drives away. What a charming family dynamic, isn't it? When Michael regains his senses and arrives home, he finds a letter from Amanda, informing him that she's unhappy with recent events and no longer feels safe, so she took the kids and left. Right now, Michael is heading to a meeting Dave invited him to. Let me introduce you to some arrogant guy and a guy who looks like Obama. They tell us that they know the whereabouts of the person we were looking for in the morgue. So now, the three of us will have to kidnap him from other dangerous people and hand him over to our federal agents. We took a helicopter ride, and just like Tom Cruise, Michael descended on a rope to the desired floor, grabbed the target while Franklin covered him with a sniper rifle. We extracted the person, and a helicopter chase ensued. It was pretty cool. I delivered the target to the police, and then with Franklin went home to relax. Suddenly, Lamar and Auntie start complaining about us, saying that Franklin has forgotten his homies, he's lost in the clouds, and doesn't care about anything but himself. Then Trevor arrives and with his peculiar actions eases the tension a bit. He shuts Lamar up, flirts with Auntie, which she's not particularly thrilled about, and during their conversation, the guys decide to go on a mission together. We need to go to a familiar street to exchange some money for a little bit of powder.
Oh shit, here we go again.
During the transaction, Trevor discovers that these guys tried to deceive us with the weight of the goods, and a shootout ensues. While we were exchanging gunfire, the cops showed up, and our guys decided to run. We stole jet skis from random people. Trevor, in particular, hit the jackpot, but the girl preferred death to spending time with an interesting man. That's how we escaped from the pursuers. The next mission is again from the feds. We meet a new character named David Weston, who will be involved in certain missions later on. Currently, we are forced to get information from a person through physical torture. The feds need to know the whereabouts of a person so they can eliminate him. While Trevor plays doctor, Michael roams the city searching for the target. After gathering enough information, we kill him, and the feds order us to dispose of our captive. But Trevor, feeling sympathetic, decides to let him go and even takes him to the airport so he can get away as far as possible. Trevor got tired of working for the feds and decided to pull off his big heist. He forced Floyd to bring him to work so Trevor could better understand how to execute the next robbery. These preparatory missions, including the final task, were quite boring. First, we had to move containers, then take a photo of a heavily guarded ship, which indicates that there's something valuable there. Afterwards, by putting Floyd at risk, Trevor steals some blueprints, and we are leading to the final mission. Trevor convinces Michael and Franklin to join the operation without Lester, which Michael isn't particularly happy about since he trusts Lester when it comes to heists and considers him a real professional. So, Michael, in a diving suit, infiltrates the ship to plant explosives while Franklin covers him with a sniper rifle. After blowing up the ship, Trevor retrieves some piece of junk from the seabed. And while our happy crew was celebrating the successful completion of the job, Lester rushed in and told us that we are all idiots and must return what we stole because it's a highly dangerous weapon. If we keep it, the government will obliterate us. Well, we had no choice but to return it. Now we have to work for the FBI against our will again. The esteemed agents tell us that many of their colleagues, law enforcement officers, are involved in corruption.
Oh, really?
Wow, no way. But as they explain, their corruption is of the bad kind, while our agents are corrupt in a good way. In general, they ask us to steal money from their dishonorable colleagues. Michael came up with a plan according to which we acquired a garbage truck to block the road, a tow truck for diversion, and 3 silly masks just for fun. When everything was ready, Franklin overturned the armored van, we broke the doors, took the bonds, and then a bunch of policemen rounded us, and we had to shoot our way out. After an intense firefight, our guys managed to escape, and Michael took the bonds to David Weston, whom we had met earlier. He thanked Michael and offered him and his team to work on a certain task. Initially, Michael refused, but this cunning fellow found out that Michael is a big fan of Solomon Richards' movies and promised to arrange a meeting with him as a reward for the help. Michael couldn't resist and agreed. In the task assigned by this guy, we had to steal various cars, and if the first mission was quite interesting, then it all turned into crap. So, in order to steal the first 2 cars, Michael and Trevor disguised themselves as police officers, and while Franklin baited a race between 2 dumb guys, our team was already waiting to arrest them for speeding. We pulled it off, and with the stolen cars, we headed to David Weston. On the spot, this eccentric guy prepared a task for us to steal the next car. And that's where the dull and disgusting stuff begins. First, we had to fly a helicopter for Trevor to scan people and find the owner of a very valuable car among them. Meanwhile, Franklin would be driving around different areas, and when the right person was found, we had to follow him. By the way, we would still be playing as Trevor whole this time. In the end, we would be given a chance to take a ride in that amazing piece of crap. With your permission, I'll skip the most interesting story about stealing the rest of the cars and get straight to the point. After obtaining all of them, we were asked to take cars out of town, where they were taken away, and we didn't get paid for the job. Great! Now Michael finally gets to meet his idol. Despite his popularity, his company is not doing well at the moment. They ask for our help, and Michael gladly agrees. First, we help Solomon to pacify a rioter. Michael introduces the guy to his fist and then takes him for a lovely helicopter ride, but our client shits himself out of fear and agrees to apologize to his boss. The next task involves retrieving a stolen film reel with a movie ready for release, which these 2 assholes shamelessly stole. They did it to claim money from the insurance company. We jumped into the car and started chasing Dave's assistant. The chase was spectacular, especially at the airport, action all around, it was a feast for the eyes. In the end, the assistant got sucked into the plane's turbine, Michael retrieved the film reel, and went back to Solomon. It turned out that this chase wasn't really necessary because the film agency had a digital copy of the movie, so the assistant died for nothing, but Solomon made Michael a co-producer for the help. Remember that wealthy mafia guy whose house Michael destroyed at the beginning of the game? Well, his name is Martin, and he invited our guys to his house to discuss a new mission for them. He wants us to eliminate his cousin, who possesses incriminating evidence against him. Bang, bang. We shot down the plane carrying the person we needed. And while the plane is falling, we need to pursue the target as Trevor. Once the plane crashes, we'll grab the necessary briefcase and head to deliver the cargo to Martin. Meanwhile, as Michael was on his way to meet this guy, Trevor calls and says that the plans have changed a bit. He didn't specify what exactly happened, but asked to meet up. It turns out that this idiot decided to rob Martin and took his wife hostage. Realizing that they are all in deep trouble now, the guys decide to lay low and live in Trevor's trailer for a while. What's funny is that our hostage quickly transitioned from being a prisoner to being a sort of family member. You can notice how she cares for the guys, especially Trevor, and he has become affectionate towards her. It's actually great that Rockstar Games made an effort to develop Trevor as a character and didn't just portray him as another crazy person without any reason. By observing him, you can see that Trevor is a broken man, and this is better revealed when you play missions after the main storyline. His difficult childhood and complicated relationship with his mother give him depth. Anyway, let's get back on track. So, while our guys were sitting and farting in the middle of the desert, Dave showed up and said they would have to work for him again. However, to complete the next mission, we'll need a helicopter, which our guys will have to buy with their own money. Realizing that they had no choice or money, the guys decided to rob the local bank. After gathering information about the security system and assembling their team, our guys came up with a robbery plan. The plan was mediocre, so let's skip to the action. We stormed into the bank, started looting the money, and then the police arrived. We changed into some awesome armor, armed ourselves with some machine guns, and the party began. The guys caused chaos for a while, but then they ran into trouble. Luckily, Franklin arrived on a bulldozer and saved Michael and Trevor. Anyway, the guys ended up at some warehouse, where they had another clash with enemies, but in the end, they defended themselves, jumped on a train, and left. In the next mission, Trevor suggested robbing a train with gold, and I don't know who the person is that thinks a dirt bike and a train make a good combination for a mission in GTA. Why couldn't leave this crap back in 2004? Anyway, after about 10 attempts, I finally managed to get on that damn wagon, knocked out the driver, and took control of the train. Meanwhile, Michael was heading to the destination. You know, at that moment, I really appreciated how well the three-character mechanic was implemented. Playing cooperative missions like that is genuinely interesting. The long missions don't get boring because you're constantly switching between actions, and it's cool to see what's happening from different perspectives. So, the guys retrieved the cargo that Trevor initially wanted to leave for himself, but Michael said that because Trevor kidnapped the mafia guy's wife, the road to Los Santos is closed for the guys, and Michael wants to go back home. After a brief argument, the guys agreed that they would give the gold as an apology to Martin and finally return his wife. In return, Michael agreed to organize the biggest heist in history for Trevor, and that's how they settled it. After our guys bought a helicopter, together with Dave and the Brute, we have to infiltrate a secret laboratory. We suited up in diving suits, swam underwater through tunnels, and found ourselves inside. We took out the guards, discovered some highly important and dangerous gas in the lab, and Trevor arrived in a helicopter to pick up the guys along with the cargo. Now comes the moment to return Patricia. Yeah, sorry, I forgot to tell you her name, but it wasn't that important. This moment is actually quite sad because you can see how deeply they become attached to each other. It dawned on me that Trevor doesn't really have anyone who truly loves him and cares for him. He has subordinates like Ron and that junkie, but it's hard to consider them true friends. Even Michael, whom Trevor used to trust, betrayed and abandoned him by faking his own death. Anyway, we brought Patricia back home, and Trevor decided to head to Los Santos. In the house, annoyed Floyd and his girlfriend asked Trevor to leave. Trevor didn't appreciate their behavior and the way they talked to him, so he killed them both. After that, the guys went to a strip club where we made an arrangement with the owner, and now it's our club. At the next meeting, they discuss robbing a federal depository, which would give them enough money to last a lifetime. While Michael was relaxing at home, Trevor showed up, reminiscing about Brad, the guy who participated in the robbery 9 years ago, just so you know. Trevor thought it would be cool to break him out of prison and reunite the old crew. According to the legend, Brad is still in prison, and Trevor had been exchanging letters with him for years, although it was actually Dave who replied to those letters. In reality, Brad has been dead for a long time, but Trevor is unaware of that. Starting to suspect that something is not right with the funeral situation involving Michael, Trevor asks who is buried in Michael's grave as Michael himself is alive. Our friend tries to lie and claim ignorance, but Trevor doesn't believe him and decides to go to Yankton to see for himself who lies in that hole. Michael chases after him, trying to convince him over the phone not to fly to Yankton, but Trevor remains stubborn. In this situation, I don't even know whom to empathize with because I understand Michael, who's tired of all these robberies and just wants peace, even though he acted wrongly by betraying his comrades. But I can also understand Trevor. He's lonely and just wants to engage in the one thing he's good at, surrounded by people who care about him. Overall, the situation sucks. After landing in Yankton, Michael heads to the cemetery reflecting on the events of 9 years ago. When he arrives, Trevor is already digging up the grave. In a moment, everything becomes clear. Trevor is furious. The guys start to aim their guns at each other. And then the Chinese show up. What the hell are the Chinese doing here, you might ask, and I'll tell you. Remember those weirdos who wanted to make a deal with Trevor? Since our guys couldn't reach an agreement, Trevor, in a fit of anger, hit the son of their leader a couple of times, and well, in the end, the Chinese decided to seek revenge. Trevor quickly escapes, leaving Michael to save his own ass alone. Just when we were about to get out of this mess, Michael gets caught and taken hostage. While Trevor is flying back to Los Santos, the leader of the Chinese calls him and demands a ransom for Michael, but all he gets in return is a polite suggestion to go fuck himself. After a while, Trevor comes to visit Franklin. He politely asked the women to stop their strange march.
Shut the fuck up! Thank you.
Then some parkour. Unsuccessfully. Franklin laughed at the situation, which made Trevor really infuriated. The guys started to discuss the recent kidnapping of Michael, but Trevor declared that he has no intention of saving him. Since Lester called us and told us how to find our missing comrade using some kind of application, I was able to track Michael's whereabouts. I made my way to some factory and shot everyone who resisted. Saved Michael and we escaped together. These fucking agents came back to us and asked us to fulfill the last request, promising to leave our guys alone after that. The boss of that asshole started suspecting him of playing a double game, and we have to destroy all the evidence of his involvement in shady dealings. We need to get into the office and install a USB flash drive into the system so that Lester can delete the necessary data. First, Michael kindly borrowed an employee's ID card from the facility they need to enter. Then we examined all the entrances and exits of the building by helicopter. Franklin stole some blueprints of the area. Our team, led by me, made a decision about how we would carry out the task. Since I hate air travel, I chose option A. And just in case, I brought along 2 shooters. While Michael gathered strength for this mission, his son came to visit him. He said that the family misses him and that the new boyfriend of his mother is getting on everyone's nerves. So he asked Michael to show who the boss is in the family. Well, in short, Michael arrived at the location, punched his wife's admirer in the face, apologized to her, and the family agreed to meet later at a therapy session. Meanwhile, Michael's daughter spent time with Laszlo, the guy who hit on her during a show. Well, Michael made him slightly more fashionable with a trendy hairstyle, a couple of new piercings for better ventilation, and a cool tattoo to help him earn respect among his buddies. There was a fun moment during the therapy session. I particularly laughed at that moment.
How about you suck my cock? Huh?
The guys argued a bit during the therapy session. Amanda shared that she doesn't like that Michael kills people and puts the family in danger, and he doesn't like that she constantly nags him. But as the session was coming to an end, the guys talked a little more and decided that it's not all lost. They will try to work on their relationship and give living together another chance. Happy ending. Returning to the FBI mission, Michael infiltrated the building disguised as a cleaner. I even had to walk around and mop the floor for the disguise, which I wasn't very happy about because it's not something I would willingly do, even at home. At the same time, Michael and I planted bombs all over the floor. And when everything was done, we called our team on the phone to move toward the office. The building blew up. Posing as firefighters, we entered, installed something in the database, but then the building started to collapse, so we had to get out of there quickly. We managed to escape, and then there was a call from Dave. He asked to meet. Although Michael tried to refuse, the agent insisted too much, so we're now heading to meet him. Upon arrival, Dave says that they can't leave the guys alone for now, when suddenly Obama appears with a cocky guy and says that they want to arrest Michael. At this moment, it is revealed that one of the agents is a traitor, having been working undercover all this time. Everyone starts getting nervous, pointing weapons at each other. Government agency agents arrive, followed by the FBI, and to top it off, Merriweather's helicopter shows up, who Michael also angered with his recent actions. Anarchy ensues. Jerk is shot in the knee. He kills his partner. Everyone starts shooting at each other, and I decide to act wisely and quietly leave. But Michael gets trapped, and just when we need it most, Trevor appears. He helps us escape, and a little later we have a serious conversation. Trevor says that he's extremely angry at Michael because of Brad's death, and Michael tries to apologize, but it doesn't help much. In the end, they decide to organize one last big heist, after which everyone will go their separate ways. Okie dokie. Franklin's old friend from the ghetto showed up. She started accusing him of abandoning all his old friends and forgetting about the neighborhood. She also mentioned that Lamar is currently having problems, being kidnapped by some dangerous guys. Franklin doesn't really want to deal with this idiot's problems, but after some brainwashing, he agrees. As the unbeatable team, we saved Lamar's ass from the ballast, and I drove him home. On the way, Franklin's brain gets fucked again because he lives now in a cool house and doesn't care about old homies. So what? The guy never wanted a life in the ghetto. He wanted to achieve something, and kinda succeeded. And despite Lamar's recent dumb behavior, Franklin didn't ditch that troublemaker, and didn't even hear a word of thanks. When the guys arrived home, that sly individual even asked for money, and upon receiving it, he started claiming that it wasn't enough. Okay. In the end, the guys parted with negativity when suddenly, out of nowhere, FBI agents appeared. They told Franklin that he needs to kill Trevor because he has become too crazy. Franklin was stunned by this. Alright, heist of the century, 2 options again, we choose what to do, assemble a team, and get to work. We need to steal cars for the 100th time, because you know what the game is called, Grand Theft. Let's all say it together, Grand Theft, of my time, exactly. So, our team stole the armored cars and headed to the federal depository. We were welcomed there and given the gold, which the guys loaded into their cars and with satisfied faces drove to the rendezvous point. While the guys were moving the gold to their cars, Merryweather personnel arrived, and we had to fight them off. Then was an interesting chase that ended with us having to load our cars into a truck, which spoiled a bit experience about this mission. In the end, the guys managed to escape the police, so we can say, hooray, victory. Another argument ensues between Trevor and Michael. Franklin can't take it anymore and leaves to chill. That same night, Devin comes to Franklin's house, asking him to get rid of Michael in exchange for a big reward. And now Franklin has a choice, to kill Trevor, Michael, or save them both. Without much thought, I decided that friendship is sacred. So I chose to save my comrades. We gathered together at some foundry where a bunch of Merryweather people showed up. Eliminating them all, we decided it was time to get revenge on everyone who had been bothering our guys lately. Splitting up, we killed Steve, the boss of the Chinese mafia and the guy who recently set up Lamar. We didn't forget about Devin Weston, who was relaxing at his villa at that time. Quickly taking care of the guards, Trevor threw our client into the trunk and drove to the meeting point with his team. There, the guys explained to him that he had been acting like a total asshole and would be punished for such bad behavior. Well, not bad. The guys decided to remain friends and went their separate ways. Credits. That's how GTA 5 ended. What can I say about it? Honestly, it's a cool game, and I enjoyed the gameplay overall. The special effects, chases, shooting, robberies, everything was done well. Just think about it, the game is turning 10 years old this year, and it still looks great by modern gaming standards. The jokes and the main characters are cool. 10 out of 10. Michael, honestly, he's my favorite character. It's interesting to observe him and his family drama. He turned out to be the most relatable and humane character, in a way. Franklin, on the other hand, is a simple guy with his own values, aiming to rise up from the bottom. He's not particularly charismatic, but he doesn't evoke any negativity either. Overall, he's decent. Trevor is the most controversial character in the game. Some people idolize him, while others see him as a plain psychopath. Personally, I found the character intriguing, but only when his backstory started to unfold. At first glance, he may seem like a maniac, but if you dig deeper, you can notice that he's just an unfortunate person with a broken fate and psyche, who hides his need for love and friendship behind rudeness and cruelty. Now, if we talk about secondary characters like Lester and Lamar, they could have been better developed. Think about it. How much do we really know about them? Essentially, nothing. These characters only appear to push the plot forward. They are quite empty in themselves. Perhaps this impression arises because they are not given much time and background story in the main storyline. Maybe. Now let's move on to the main antagonists of the game. In my opinion, they are some of the most uninteresting antagonists I've ever seen. I spent several weeks playing the game, then editing video for you, and even towards the end of the editing process, I had to Google their names because I constantly forgot them. That's how bad it is. Just remember how the villains were portrayed in GTA San Andreas. I still remember their names even after 15 years since I saw them. Speaking of the plot, it seems to me that the overall story of GTA 5 revolves around the relationship between Michael and Trevor. The FBI missions were added just for fun, and while they have a very indirect impact on the main plot, they provide us with decent gameplay. It's not bad, but they could have added a bit more story. In conclusion, the game is good, like many games from Rockstar. Could it have been better? Yes, it could have. But even in its current form, it's worth giving it a try. But this is my experience and opinion about this game. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments, and see you soon.
It's a setup, it's a setup, it's a setup, it's a setup.